we come across this question of doership. So I have explained my concept, which is that nobody does anything and everything is a happening, which is something very difficult to accept because we live in a world where we see a lot of reactivity, where we see actions and their reactions. So it is very common to see people holding others responsible. And the question comes up, if I'm not the doer and everything is happening as per, let's say, the cosmic law, or you can call it God's will, or you can call it functioning of the universal power or higher consciousness, whatever way you want to put it. And Maharaj explains this in his book, I Am That, where the questioner asks, the questioner says, if there is a universal power that is doing everything, so I can just do whatever I like and put the blame on that power and get away with it. How easy? So Maharaj says, yes, very easy. Just realize the one mover behind all that moves and leave all to him. If you do not hesitate or cheat, this is the shortest way to reality. Stand without desire and fear, relinquishing all control and all responsibility. The questioner says, what madness? To which Maharaj says, yes, divine madness. What is wrong in letting go of illusion of personal control and personal responsibility? Both are in the mind only. Of course, as long as you imagine yourself to be in control, you should also imagine yourself to be responsible. One implies the other. Now, if you see carefully, this sounds very dangerous because one can say that if I am allowed to do whatever I like, then I will create mayhem in the society. But you see, it is my belief of personal control and the responsibilities that I have assigned myself that is actually creating mayhem in the society. Once it is understood that nobody does anything, but everything is happening through cosmic law, there is a lot of peace. There is an order. But one has to understand this totally. Now, the line here that requires attention is this one, where Maharaj says, if you do not hesitate or cheat, this is the shortest way to reality. The problem is that most of us cheat. When our sense of separation is high, we cheat. So what we do is, okay, let's understand this with an example. Let's say I physically hit somebody. I kick somebody, okay? And then I say, this happened as per cosmic law. It was God's will. Now, many people do that. They can say mean things, and then they can say, this is all happening from higher consciousness, from a universal power. It's not happening from me. I'm not in control here. I'm not in charge here. So they want to get away. But then what happens is that the reaction comes from the other side. And the moment reaction comes from the other side, they immediately put the blame on the other person. Why did you hurt me? You are a horrible person. You see? but they don't see how they operated. So there, the understanding is not complete. Once there is this total understanding that everything is a happening, then even when there is a reaction from the other end where the other person hits back as as a reaction to my action, then I have to accept that that is also happening as per the cosmic law. And I cannot blame or shame that person for acting that way. If I say something hurtful to somebody, and in response they react and say something hurtful to me, then I have to accept that that is also coming from the higher power and not from this person. If I am fixated on the person, on the image, that this person is horrible, they said a bad thing to me and they should be punished for it, then I have not accepted this reality that everything is happening as per the cosmic law or the functioning of a universal power. So we are not allowed to cheat as per Nisargadatta Maharaj. And he says that when we believe ourselves to be the doers of action, we also believe other people to be the doers. And that is where the whole cycle of shame, blame, guilt, malice starts to propagate in horizontal time as suffering. Because then I live with this story in my head that they did something bad to me. I did something bad and then they did something bad. But if things are seen as happening, if mind-body organisms are seen as instruments of consciousness, it is understood that nobody really does anything. And in the moment, there may be an action and reaction. And one can apologize for an action or for a reaction. But one does not live with this story of guilt and blame or shame towards oneself or the other for acting in one particular way. But till I try to control and assign myself responsibilities, I did something bad and I must fix. So I remain caught up in this cycle of guilt where I try to keep fixing. And my peace is lost. So this message is not a license to just behave recklessly as one wants. When Maharaj or any other teacher says, do whatever you want, they say that do it with this understanding that nobody is the doer, that everything is happening impersonally. It is then that there is true freedom. Otherwise, you remain trapped in the images, thinking you are the doer and the other is also the doer. So Maharaj further says, all life on earth depends on the sun. Yet you cannot blame the sun for all that happens. Though it is the ultimate cause. Light causes the color of the flower, but it neither controls nor is responsible for it directly. It makes it possible, that is all. Similarly, this animating consciousness makes things happen. It is not trying to control. It is not trying to make things happen based on a personal agenda. The unconscious mind thinks that there is a personal agenda to the way things happen. But for consciousness, it is simply illuminating what is. And it is not separate from it. Once that is understood, there can be no resentment, there can be no shame, there can be no guilt. So, yes, you can do whatever you want, knowing that actions have consequences. And I will conclude with one of the most famous quotes from Ramesh Balsekar, where he says, "Events happen, deeds are done, and consequences happen. But there is no individual doer thereof."